Hey guys, what is up? We're back with another chapter review of Dark Gathering, and we are at chapter 45, and we have defeated Grandma Yuriko. As we know, back in chapter 44, majority of that chapter was the background story of how Yuriko became such a vengeful ghost from practically, I will summarize the age of 5 or 6, where she constantly saw the people that's closest to her family, from her mother, her father, her husband, her child, her daughter-in-law, and finally her grandchild, all being clipped, and then seeing the Shinigami collect their souls, because as you know, when you're close to death, that's when they appear, and there was nothing she can do as a human, and so she decided to take her own life and then become a vengeful ghost where she would attack humans indiscriminately, as well as to attack the Shinigami, gain enough power in order to go after them. And it would have been an ongoing continuous cycle, if not for Yayoi, Keitaro, and Eiko. As we know, she technically stole both Eiko and Keitaro's soul and stored them in the babies. If it wasn't for Goki, one of the two Shikigami, Goki and Zoki, I believe, or Zoku. But Zoku was from the other ghost, but Goki was the one that saved Keitaro's soul from being burned, and she stuffed them into those creepy baby dolls. What really set her off was when she that led her to this path was losing her grandchild. And if you read the chapter already, or if it's your first time, go back to reading chapter 44 and go at the end where they told the excerpt that the person who was kidnapping the children during the 70s was a woman. It was told within this chapter 45, it was a woman with the same face as Eiko. And so this is what set off everything currently right now. But she has been defeated and she has been captured. So she's in like this little birdie plushie that Yayoi has. This is where she stores all the curses, ghosts, entities to be used later if she deems him strong enough. Because at the end of the day, the main goal of our gathering is to go against the Spectre of Death. All these other things are basically side quests. Okay, everything that's going on right now, this is a side quest. At the end of the day, Spectre of Death is the main goal as like the villain of the end of the series, right? So now they find that guy who I say looked like Yotake and looks like that guy Kama something from Katekyo Hitman Reborn. He got that look, that vibe, and come to find out it's literally like Yotake, because Yotake in Bleach, he runs a shop, right? And that's more so as undercover and everything for like to go to, you know, the spirit world. I can't remember right now, but you know, the world versus the world of living and everything. And so the guy, his name is actually Kamakura. And so he steps up because he appeared in the end of the chapter 44, and now he's formally introducing himself again in this chapter, because he showed like 2-3 chapters prior when they met Abe no Seme, a ghost who looks very young, but that's actually his ghost. So I guess he took on the appearance of a very young priest or monk. And this same man, Kamakura, Tamakura, was there with him as well. So now he came back and he's here to see everything that's going on. So he's like, I'm going to make a deal with you, Yayoi, right? He calls her Ojo-chan. He's like, you having these ghosts, you managed to capture Granny Toriko and you have Castle H on your side. And he calls Yayoi very talented, in which she is. She's 9 years old and she's pulling off feats that would have made her at least a grade 1 sorcerer in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, this is Pokemon gone wrong. Pokemon gone wrong. And so the funny thing about this chapter about Tamakura is he knows all of these things that were happening with the grandma ghost, Grandma Toriko, and with the Shinigami coming down and all of this mess that's been happening at F Park. And so we have where Yayoi is asking him, so since you knew everything that's been happening, you knew the history where this was a location where one war, aka if you go back to the last chapter and from Toriko's memories, Grandma Yuriko, not Toriko, that's a manga series, Grandma Yuriko, and she was going through the times of war and everything, the 1940s and everything. And also, I'm guessing that's also co-lining with also why there are so many Shinigami in this particular location, because so many people have perished and died due to war. So a lot of these bodies or their souls never found proper rest, and so hence why there's such a big circle in the sky and they just keep coming down. And so Yayoi is asking him, so you knew she was doing this all along and you could have stopped it. Like, so many people have been robbed, they've been forcefully separated from their bodies, their souls ripped from their bodies, and you did nothing. Which he responded saying, like, there wasn't really much I could do personally because I was not strong enough spiritually. This is going back to when I was reading the chapter. When I was reading the chapter, I remember back in the first season of the anime, and it was around, I was about to say, it was around, I think it was the, like, episode 20 or something of that sort. Now I forgot what I was about to say. I just had a brain fart. But, no. One of the twins. And then it was after the meatball episode and all that, and her sister body got snatched by one of those ghost stealer body snatchers. And so she's like, you know, when it comes to spiritualists, they all have different levels. Yayoi probably would be considered one of those high level spiritualists, and hence why she wanted to recruit her and mentor her to become even more stronger as she gets older. So in this case, Tamakura is a specialist in, you know, spiritual stuff and in terms of ghosts and all of that stuff, but he is not the strongest there is. So for him to go up against both a Shinigami, which he notes that you can't really defeat, there's nothing you could really do to them, and to also go up against Grandma Yuriko, yeah, it would be a bad idea. So he never really could have done anything much but other than be a bystander for how all these things happen. Now, he does note that he says, I know of a way to get your friends back into their bodies, but there is a price you have to pay. So he's bargaining with a 9-year-old. So he's telling Yayoi, you see that book that you got back at the shrine? Because actually I was watching you the whole time, you and your friends, and I came to follow you. Weird, creepy, but whatever. That book in particular, I want that book because I want the details in that book. You know, the hefty fine that I could be paying for this. And you always look at him skeptical, like, as you should, because it's just like, you're a weird man and you want this book for me to help. And then he's like, I can show you a way to save your friends. It's actually a pretty cool technique. So out he takes a glove, and it has writing on it, right? And then he puts on the glove, and then he demonstrates to her that what you do is once you put on the glove, then you scratch the area and then you pull, and then the soul starts to come out, and you just drag it, and then eventually the soul will go back to its rightful body. It'll know what to do once you pull it up and take it out from where it is. So we found a safe way on how to extract these souls from these creepy baby dolls, and so the souls can eventually go back to their original human flesh bodies. So Yayoi is really thinking, it's like, that's a cool gadget you got there, right? And he's like, you know, I can give you this. I'll give you a discount. Okay, if you give me the book, I'll give you this glove for 500 yen. Yayoi said, I bet. Pull out her coin pouch, only had 130 yen. And my man, Tamakura is just like, that's juice money. That's juice money. But you know what? Regardless of the fact, here's a better option. If you allow me to get copies, aka take photos and everything on my phone, I'll allow you to use this glove. And she's like, you know what? You know what? Deal. So then he gives her the glove and everything, and she's like, you know, my top priority is to save my friends and everything. So he gives her the glove, and you know, they do the little thing that even her and Aiko does, where it's just like, let's go. So he's like, let's go and save them. And then she's like, oh, I think she does with Aiko as well. So he gave her the glove, and they start proceeding to take their souls out. But Yayoi realized something. While she did the method he did, he took Keitaro's soul out, but then he grabbed his soul with his other hand that's not wearing a glove. Aiko realized that, and she's like, you're kind of doing it, you're using the wrong hand. You're kind of doing it wrong. And then he's like, you know, you really don't need the glove. Like, the movement itself is the ethereal glove. Like, it is just the movement of the glove. Yayoi just gets peeved off. And this is the first time I'm really seeing her act like a kid. And so she punches it. She got peeved. And he's teasing her. It's like, you know, you shouldn't be trusting adults, especially when, you know, they can be creepy or weird and all that stuff. You need to be careful around adults. And then she punches him where the sun nor moon shines. And my man is laying on the floor crying. And I'm like, you deserve that. You deserve that. But nonetheless, she sees that they went back to their bodies and they're starting to get up and everything. And she's like reluctantly looking at him. And she's like, okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But if you do that again, So Keitaro is the first one that we see that gets up. But he's foggy. He has nausea. He has fatigue. He's dizzy. And it's understandable. Like, you quite literally had an out-of-body experience in the worst way possible. Right? You could have, your physical body would have been in a vegetable state until it perishes, while your soul no longer exists in existence because it got burned, right? It got burned. It wasn't collected by the Shinigami. And then, yeah, that would have happened if he was not saved in time. So on top of that, because Goki went to go save him, remember, Goki and Zoku, I believe, or Zoki, are both connected to Keitaro's soul. So whenever he's in danger, he's unconsciously summons them to protect him. So on top of the fact that Goki did save him, and the fact that now his soul is back into his human body, he's feeling discombobulated. So this move, I will say, that Tamakura did, and he's like, there's a way, technically the best option for both of them is to actually rest, because right now they're really just out of it, especially all of the experience and out-of-body experience and all that stuff. But this is the fastest, surest way to really get everything back in one piece. So then he shouts, secret technique, divine punishment pressure point. It would have looked like the 1,000 years, that would 1,000 needles jutsu, 1,000 years of pain jutsu that Kakashi and then eventually Naruto did back in season 1. It was only done like 2 or 3 times, but it's iconic to this day, and it really woke him up. And then he's like, yo, I actually feel fine. What did you do? All he tells him now, all Tamakura tells Keitaro now is like, you know, despite you feeling fine and everything, it's best if you don't do anything that can strain yourself, because still everything is trying to fix back into place. But for the most part, you're pretty much good. So then he's like, Tamakura is just like, the information that I'm giving you, you know, technically they weren't for free, but they are valuable, right? And so she decides to, and because he kind of like gave her information, technically stuff that he knows because of his years of research and years of whatever techniques he's been learning as a spiritualist, she's like, reluctantly, give me your phone. And so she took multiple pictures to give to him, and then he leaves, and then he announces that he's actually going to contact her tomorrow night. So eventually Eiko does wake up, but she is so out of it. Like, this is the last time she looked something similar to this was, I think it was with the face stealer, the murderous face stealer. I think that was the last time we saw her so out of this, and we haven't seen that again until this chapter. I was about to say episode. So, you know, Keitaro was very worried because it's just like, this was a very terrifying situation. Like, despite all the risky, horrendous situations that the trio has been in, it's actually very surprising that in this chapter, Keitaro to himself, and we read it, he said to himself that he steeled his mind and his soul for the operation that was at hand before it actually commenced. So he's not too shaken up, which to me, personally, I don't know about the rest of you, but to me, that's some character development right there, because usually Keitaro will be so out of it. But I guess because of all the experience, and even it's tripled by the time they got to Kyoto, because they have not been really stopping. I mean, sure, they had to stop in terms of like sleep and getting food, but this is like a daily basis. Every day they had to go to a particular spot, deal with whatever entity is there, seal it, destroy it, and then take whatever power that it can take as defense and offense in order to battle Ai's God at the end of it, right? So the fact that he said, you know, knowing that we were going up against a ghost, and we didn't know how strong exactly this ghost particularly been, aka Grandma Yuriko, he mentally prepared himself. He guarded himself. So while it was terrifying, it's not like all the other times where we saw him absolutely out of his mind. This man is shook into his boots. Like, this is different. This is different. I don't know if it's because ever since he got the Shikigami, I'm not too sure, but I will have to applaud Keitaro for another level of character development. Even though it's not huge, I think this may help him in the longer run for the series, right? So eventually they decided, like, for Eiko to get rest, Yayoi was going to stay behind to make sure that all the other creepy baby dolls that were containing souls were rightfully able to be taken out, and then the souls hopefully safely were able to find their respective bodies. And then we had where Keitaro was with Eiko, trying to get her to eat something, because again, this was an experience that I think for her personally topped the face stealer. So while they're sitting down, he's trying to get her to eat. She's even asking him, like, you know how mother birds would chew up the food and spit into, she was asking him to do that. He's like, no, that's weird and unhygienic. That's nah, just eat the food and drink the water. So then they have like really a moment of silence, and then she's talking about, like, you know, it was actually scary because just like, I could not do anything. I'm forced in a situation where, like, I'm stuck in an object and I was close to being burned and being unalived. I was bounded, helpless. And she's shaking. She's actually genuinely shaking. And she, as she said, you know, she felt crushed by worry and solitude because she felt so alone in that situation. Her physical body is basically in a vegetable state. And laughing, it looks very similar to something like a Joker hits you with a Joker gas, and you're just like in this frozen state laughing because that's what she was. She was just in a state of laughing, but her soul was quite literally ripped out of her body and then stuffed into a weird baby doll waiting to meet its maker. And on top of that, even though she doesn't know, Eiko has the face of the child kidnapper who also unalived children back in the 70s. So grandma definitely had it out for her. Mind you, they did say in the chapter that what's his name, Tamakura was telling Yayoi that Grandma Yuriko had quite the vengeance towards young women because it was because of the look-alike of Eiko taking kids. So she would purposely really go out of her way going after young adult women, and it basically really attacked them. So yeah. I just hope that when Yayoi does use Grandma Toriko, mind you, she did put Castle H in one of the positions. So when she's ready to summon her, she summons her by her obi. I think she has on hand Grandma Yoriko, but she did put Castle H in place. So she's at one of the I guess you could say points that they marked on the map. So going back to it, like, you know, Eiko is just petrified and she's shaking, and then Keitaro is consoling her, and as he should. They're boyfriend and girlfriend, and not only that, childhood best friends. And so then she's shocked, and then she gets an instant flashback to where Keitaro was protecting her while she was in that state where her soul was in the baby doll and her body was, you know, laid out on the bench. And then she even noted to herself that, like, in most cases people would have worried about her actual physical body and then forget of even going near that creepy doll, but he held the creepy doll that contained her soul so preciously. And then she realized that no matter how I may look or whatever state I'm in, Keitaro cares about me. And it's not just caring about her in the sense of the physical state. He cares about her also in the spiritual sense. And so I think it goes along that that romance trope where, like, no matter how you look, or like when some people will ask, will you still love me as a worm? This is that case. Meaning Keitaro, no matter what form Eiko would ever be in, he would still love her for her because he knows it's her. Like, if that's not the truest form of love, I don't know what is. And as cute as that is, we cannot forget the type of individual that Eiko is. Remember, she's been stalking him since they were kids. She is a yandere. Okay? She is a yandere. A twisted one. As sentimental as it is, she took this poor man's pure love for her and cared for her. And she's like, you know what? You know what? I think I want to do all of this all over again, but make it even stronger. Then she's like, what we could do is we can capture other souls and then stuff them. And when it comes to negotiation, it can go both easy or hard. And then she unwraps, because I didn't really realize until I had to reread the chapter, she had something wrapped up in her arms. And when she unwrapped it, she's like, oh, Yayoi collected them and I just took them while we were leaving. And these are the dolls that contained our souls. She took the dolls that contained their souls in it. If that ain't twisted. And then the fact that she's like, we can lock any of the ghosts in there. Or any of the replace. And then go through negotiations with them. Do you know how twisted that sounds? To get whatever information they need. And then she wants to end it off like, you know, that's a nice idea, don't you think? Like, if we do that, we, you know. When I say this woman is crazy, she is crazy. She's insane. Because the same thing that could have ended up taking you out permanently to the point that you don't exist. You're like, you know what? I kind of like this. This is like basically the face sealer with Anna. She has Anna contained in a 3D printer paper. Well, I can't even call it a printer doll, but a gel doll. And she made hundreds of cases of it. With also Yayoi and Keitaro's DNA, probably hair or something in them. Now we got the creepy dolls on hand too. And then she has a creepy smile on her face. And then it leaves Keito's like, while he holding her in his head, it's just like, what is her thought process? When she was thinking all of this, we like, first and foremost, you were shook. After dealing with this whole ordeal, and now you're saying we can just put ghosts or anything if we want to negotiate with in the doll. What were you gonna do with them dolls? The dolls that had both you and his soul in it. Bro, I firmly believe somewhere in the back of her mind, something delusional, she gonna look at them like they kids. I would not be shocked if next chapter that's where her thought process is. And by putting a soul in there, she... You know, let me shut up. Let me shut up. But then, you know, he's recognizing the faces she makes when she, you know, when she looks at him, and Yayoi, like, faces of, like, you know, care for both of them. But then she makes these type of weird faces. And he just can't understand Eiko's mindset. Like, he's trying to figure out a puzzle, but he can't put it together. And so even though it's kind of spooking him out, and then to rub a little salt into the wound, there is quite literally one spot left on their Kyoto trip, because they already managed to do all 4 spots. And now they have 1 more spot to go. So Eiko is also thinking probably we can use these dolls for the last spot. I mean, it would be smart. But the context of it and what she wants with these dolls, and then experience everything what she did and still want to use these dolls and all that. Yeah. Yeah, she did. Yeah. Very creepy. Very creepy. So now Keitaro, low key, and this is going all the way back to like the first 3 episodes where they're like, I think it was Yayoi. No, it was Eiko that announced to Keitaro that it's just like, even though you're very afraid of these situations, you know, with these ghosts and everything, you still don't run away from it. So low-key, you kind of like these situations happening to you. These situations that will cause massive panic attacks and anxiety. You can't help but be tuned to it, you know? And so Keitaro just reaffirmed that many chapters later, saying that, like, am I attracted to whatever this is that Eiko is walking towards to? My boy is attracted to... This boy is a masochist. Because we saw that one creepy face of his back in like episode 2, and we have not seen it again. But like, Yayoi... I mean, not Yayoi. Eiko peeped that from early on. And now he's just reaffirming it 45 chapters later. And so now we get to the part where we see Tamakura is trying to decode the book, right? And then while he's trying to decode it, he starts springing blood from his nose and his mouth. Comes to find out that the only person that can decode it is the one that the book chose and connected to, aka Yayoi. And so she's the only one, because she saw the book. Remember, she saw the book like 2-3 chapters ago. And then she's the one that picked it up. It showed itself to her. And so she's basically the keeper of this. So what happened was that the Omanji made it sure that if anybody tries to decode, they will die. So now Tamakura is going to try everything he can, and then he picks up like a pocket watch. It looks like something from freaking Full Metal Alchemist, and I'm guessing these pocket watches, from what we see in this chapter, is going to be a way to stop time, aka from them attacking. And obviously there must be spiritual power on the time watch, on the pocket watches, and so it's protecting from whatever power or curse from the book that he's trying to decode from actually attacking his body and then eventually unaliving him. We also do see where like Same is just like, he realizes that Yayoi can't read Chinese. The book is in Chinese, and so she won't be able to decode it or anything. But he does hope that the book ended up in the right hands, and whoever uses it, you know, uses it for good. But at the same time, he's also worried of the fact that Yayoi could possibly make the same mistake as the Kamio family. So I'm guessing that was the family that had the book, and they probably did something and it didn't go correctly, or they gave the book to someone else to decode. But whatever the case is, I don't know. You guys read the manga before me, so you guys must know, but of course don't put that spoilers. But the book is now in Tamakura's hands, and he's trying to decode whatever this book is all about. And he's wearing the watches. He got mad enough watches on the table trying to decode, and all you see is like a trail, tear line of blood. Like, I'm guessing he's getting this close, just trying to figure out what this book entails, okay? And the chapter really ends where, like, now all three of them meet up again. Eiko, Yayoi, and Keitaro meet up again, and now they're heading off to this particular location, the last location of their entire Kyoto trip, right? And they say it's a haunted spot, RTA. Don't know what that means. The ghosts there may not be all that strong, but they have to keep vigilant because they don't know what's going to happen, okay? So I have a feeling, because this whole point is to get to those 5 locations, gather as much fighting power as they can, put the defenses there, because the middle spot of Kyoto is where they're going to meet where Ai is, because she's still I think she's still in the hospital, and that's where they're going to have that showdown with Ai's god. So they have to secure all places of defense, and then the final stretch of the Kyoto arc is done by the time they face up against Ai's god. But then we also have to remember they have not brought back or talked about the body snatchers, who are also on their way, if they're not already in Kyoto as well. So yeah. So if you guys read chapter 45 of Dark Gathering, of course, no spoilers further than where we are, but what do you think the Omonji book basically entails, and why was it specifically given to Yayoi? And do you think Tamakura is going to explain what he found? Will there be repercussions if he does, because he's not the actual holder that was gifted the book? What do you think Eiko is going to do with the dolls, quite literally? Is she really going to use them in this final stretch at the last frontier before they deal with Ai's god? And do you think there's a possibility that we'll see the Keitaro's Shikigami again, or has he actually used up all their power and they were a one-time use only? Leave your comments down below in the comment section, and all the links are in the description box. And I'm Kimi-chan, and I'll see you guys later. Bye! With